Greetings, 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 everyone. Wherever you're watching in and tuning in from, whatever time of day, morning, noon, or night, I want to greet you uh, and say blessings to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. And today is a moment of inspiration. And my name is Leslie Montgomery, and you are tuned into LKM Kingdom Living. And I'm glad that you stopped by. And I'm only going to be here for a few minutes because the only thing I want to do is to encourage you. But I want to tell you this. Are you listening? Can you hear what I'm saying? The Father said, be quiet. In other words, and I don't like using this word, well, I'll use it this way: hush. Whatever you're talking about that does not edify him, be it the government, be it on your job, relationship, whatever it is, he says, be quiet. And and he didn't just tell you that; he told me that too. I had, whoever's bringing the word or instructions have to be first partaker. And there's too much chatter going on. There's too much chatter in the atmosphere that doesn't give him space to do what he needs to do. We can look at so many different things and talk about the negative aspect of it or talk about what's not right about it. But he said, hush. And when we hush, and when we listen to him and we pay attention to what he's saying, he can move like he wants to move. Man, can I tell you, that's a hard thing. There's something right now that I was going through, and I wanted to talk about it, and I couldn't even talk about it because he said, hush. I want you to hush. So even in the process of me hushing, that's a hard thing. My emotions and all my inside wants to say something, want to talk about it. And he's saying, that's not what I called you to do. I want you to be quiet. And so even as I was getting ready this morning, he was like, tell my people to hush, to hush. So, in other words, to be silent. you know, Sometimes it's more healthy to be silent than to talk. A lot of times we uh, get in the way of what's being done because we put our opinions out there. So, when you look at the word silent, it is powerful. It says, I'm just reading this excerpt. It is powerful. It reduces stress, enhances focus, boosts creativity, and promotes self awareness. Hey, Brother Ben, self awareness. So when we're in a state of being quiet, be still and see the salvation of Yahweh. When we're in that place and when we allow the Father to do certain things, one of the things that happens is that uh, our body lines up, blood pressure goes down, heart rate goes down, everything lines up with the stillness. And the Father was so creative or so intentional that He gave us time to rest. When you rest in Him, when you be still, He's able to work more fluently, more causing things to be able to turn out differently. So what happens when you rest? Your brain, it allows your brain to rest and regenerate. One of the things that I do when I found out that at night, no, when you go to sleep, that your brain is re, uh, what's the word? It's recharging, regenerating. And in the midst of that regenerating, it says that it really takes to about 11 to 12 noon for the body the brain to finish refreshing. So I tried to eat later on in the morning so that my brain could reset. Do you You know that every time you sleep, your God, the Yahweh is so intentional. Think about this, that He created us in such a way that everything He put in us, in our insides, has to link up with something else. So that brain has to restore itself, it has to refresh itself on a continuous basis. So when He tells us to rest at night, when He tells us to find time to sleep, when He tells us to come into His presence, He's causing that to happen so that your brain will reset. Our brains have to reset every day. Our brains have to be refreshed. It has to come, be in a place that we can function differently. I don't know about you, but when I don't get rest, I'm antsy. Not only am I antsy, I'm snappy. Not only am I snappy, I just not. I'm just like I said, antsy all over the place. But when I get that rest at night, when I allow my brain to turn off and not wondering how to do this and wondering how to do that, or thinking about this thing or that thing, and I say, brain, you got to shut down. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up refreshed for what? A new day. Not only does He refresh your brain, but He allows you to come into a new day, function differently than you did the day before. One of the other things it says is, while in communication, it creates impact, encouraging others to speak and signaling deep listening and thoughtful consideration. It is a tool to introspect. And it's not time, but in September, October, we go into introspecting. But when we allow ourselves to be in that quiet place, you'll see things in your life that you need to change. You'll see things that the Father will show you, and He'll also tell you why that's happening when you sit still long enough. We're so impatient. We want to sit there for a minute, and then we looking at our watch. We got to do this, we got to do that, instead of sitting still. He created the Sabbath for us to reset. He created the Sabbath for our brain to be revitalized. There's so many different things that takes place when we are still, when we allow Him to minister to us deep down inside. So what it releases anxiety. You ever take deep breaths? And on Thursdays, that's one of the things we usually do, take deep breaths, some type of techniques of taking deep breath. When that happens, it opens up your mind, your brain resets, your heart. Everything is subject to us doing what we need to do for our bodies to reset. And I think that that's such an amazing thing, that when you take those deep breaths, you can actually feel the release. You can actually feel everything opening up. It's like your oxygen opens up. Everything becomes clearer, because now what was foggy, now you done released it. There's a release that has to take place. So when we're in that quiet place, we're releasing all those old toxins. We're releasing all those old things that have us bound. The word talks about being bound. So it brings clarity, it brings awareness when we get into a place with the Father, and He tells us to seek Him daily. Why? So that we can have clarity, so that we can have understanding, and so that that reset that's taken place now, once we reset, He can come in and He can speak to us, and He can tell us what needs to be done. So even as you go through today, and as you're resetting, as you're taking deep breaths, as you're being still, not just always talking. A lot of times we just talk too much, and He's like, be quiet. We're in a time now, if we look at our government, if we look at job situations, if we look at even relationships, we're in a time now that we really need to be still, because in the stillness, that's where He can speak. So as you go about your day to day, says maintaining a calm and gentle spirit. That's Proverbs 10 and 19, and First Peter 3 and 4 says, and finding strength in resting quietly in Yahweh's presence. Silence is often portrayed as a virtue. When I tell you that there's so much in the word about being still and being quiet, telling us that we don't have to talk so much, and we don't have to express ourselves all the time, and we don't have to allow our emotions to get caught up, because when our emotions get caught up, hey, Pastor Daphne, when our emotions get caught up, then we move according to our emotions. The Father wants us to stop doing that. When you're still, you got to learn to be still. It's a practice that you learn to be still, that you learn to be quiet. You don't always have to be talking. He said, be quiet. He says, I need to speak, not you. And when we allow him to speak, when we allow him to do what he wants to do, even in situations that don't look good, even in situations that don't feel good. And because when that happens, we feel like we have to respond. The Father is saying you don't have to respond. Can I tell you that when you get into a place of being still, when you get into a place of being quiet, then he can do what he needs to do. It says, was that Proverbs 10? It says, exceeding excessive talking is the link to sin, whereas quietness helps avoid transgression. And one of the things that I know that we need to fill the word with what in those areas in our mind, because it says I don't mind. They say, what it say, the devil's workshop. So when we're not filling our space with the word, when we're not filling our space with something other than negativity, when we're not filling our space with something that is positive, that the Father, and you know what the interesting thing is, and this is for me, I can be feeling a certain way. I was talking to somebody today about a feeling I had, and when I start talking about it, then I heard the Father speaking. And when the Father speaks, it was louder than what I was feeling and thinking. Sometimes we just have to be quiet and allow Him to do what He needs to do. We're not always willing to do that. So the word tells us a quiet spirit. It says Elohim values a gentle and quiet spirit. It says, which is considered more precious than extended internal admiration. Can we be quiet? Can we not think that we have to know everything? Can we not think that we have to always speak on everything? Can we not think that we have to be, what's it called? We don't always have to be the limelight, knowing everything, thinking that we have to speak on everything. One thing about it, when you're quiet and you have a peaceful spirit, the Father will show you things. He would allow you to see things, and you'll say, oh, that's why you didn't want me to speak on it. So Psalm 62 and 5, silence is portrayed as a way to wait on Yahweh and find peace. There is peace, there is liberty, there is freedom in being quiet and being still. It says, hearing, as shown in, let me turn there. Well, let me do Habakkuk first. Habakkuk 2 and 20 says, but Yahweh is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. When we go even into the Sabbath, he is in his holy place, We need to be quiet before him to hear what he has to say to us. It is so important that we understand that we are in the world but not of it. There is a divining aspect in our lives that when we're quiet, the spirit within us hooks up and gets in the place with the Father, and our spirit is like, yes, now I can refresh, and our spirit gets excited, not anxious, but excited, because now it's in its original state. It's where it needs to be. So as you go through today, remember, quiet the storm that's in your head. Quiet the fact that the Father said, be quiet, silence yourself. I want to do what I want to do. So don't forget it. Don't get so caught up that you forget that he's in control, and that if he says to be quiet, it's for a good reason. And he has something in store for us when we learn to sustain from talking and sustain from spewing out of our mouths what we feel should happen or what we feel that is happening. What do I mean by that? It tells us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to get it. Wisdom says it's the principal thing, but wisdom teaches us how to be quiet. So as you go through today and the rest of the week, remember the Father wants you to be quiet. It says, even a fool who keeps quiet is considered wise. You don't want to be foolish, but it's saying even that fool that knows that when to be quiet is wise. Let us be wise. Let us be stewards, wise stewards of the word, and be wise stewards of what comes out of our mouth and how it comes out of our mouth. How to respect and honor what the Father is saying. And right now, he's saying it's not time to talk about what the government is doing. It's not time to bash what we see going on, but it's time for us to be still and see the salvation. Why? It tells us in Psalm, encouraging, wait on the Lord. Gotta be still, gotta be quiet, because there's another place that the Father wants us to get to. And if we're not still, we'll miss it. You will miss what the Father is doing. And when we speak negatively, we hinder him from moving. So we gotta be quiet. We can't speak what we think is supposed to happen or how we feel is going to happen. Someone told me the other day, said, how long is it gonna take? I was like, well, how long was it for the civil rights movement? Well, it's still going on. Okay. How long was it before the Israelites was delivered? That's up to the Father. It is up to the Father how long it's going to take for things to turn around. But I promise you, in everything, there is a season and a time. And we know that the season has to do with the season coming up, but there's a season and a time for everything. And if you hold on, keep your mouth closed, because we really don't know what we be talking about half the time, and allow him to still be who he says he'll be, I promise you, you'll see a different outcome than the one that you have right now. Just keep your head up. Hold on. Speak to the Father. Sit down in His presence and let Him speak to you, because His plan is a whole lot greater or better than ours. Have an amazing rest